Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the live session of the Cinematic Spaces of Education Festivalette, where we will have the wonderful opportunity to speak with two unique and compelling and highly courageous directors, Alisa Kovalenko and Philip Gnadt. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're so pleased to be able to show your movies as part of the festival. As you know, that the festival is sponsored and part of the Comparative and International Education Society, which has members from all over the world. And we hope more people will join as well as we continue, but we want to get started now. So just to explain the format, basically, I, as the festival director, will ask a few questions, and then we will also open it up to everybody else who wants to participate. So if you'd like to interact and have some questions, please do so, get them ready, and there will be a space for that as well. But it will be recorded and uploaded later, so also keep that in mind. So let's get started. Alisa Kovalenko is from Ukraine, and she is the director of We Will Not Fade Away. And Philip Gnadt is from Germany, and he is the director of Gaza Surf Club. And one of the things that really stood out to us when we selected the films is that they're both kind of seeking hope in these situations of terrible despair that seem like these intractable conflicts, but still people try to find a way to continue on with their lives, no? And how athletics, or in one case, mountain climbing, in the other, surfing, can serve as that place of like a haven from what's happening, and also how teaching that or sharing that with others starts to create a special community and a bond that helps at least a little bit within these very difficult situations. And you may not know, Philip and Alyssa, that the focus of the next conference for the society will be education for peace building. This will be in San Francisco next year. And so we also felt that these films spoke to that theme that is being highlighted right now within the society and was very pertinent right now for the educators. So great. One of my questions for both of you is, what was it like? What drove you to make these movies in these contexts that are quite dangerous? I'm a filmmaker myself, and I know, that sometimes you put yourself in difficult situations because you love something about the place where you're going, or there's something you feel you need to transmit. Alyssa's from Ukraine, Philip is from Germany. So I'm very interested in hearing more about what drove you to take these risks and to go to these places and film there. We're so grateful for these movies. It really changes, I think, our perception. It makes it more complex, what it's like to live there, and connects us quite strongly with these people, no? So thank you, and we'd love to hear from you. Don't know who wants to start first. Alyssa?
Alicia, you want to start?
Okay, I can. Yeah, it's a long story. Actually, I've been in Donbas when Russian aggression started in 2014, but back then I was filming Ukrainian like volunteer soldiers, but I also met a lot of locals and also children, and already at the time I was thinking what will be with this generation who will live in these circumstances. And years later, I met in Kiev Valentin with a very like kind of famous in Ukraine sport commentator, and he also made the first sport TV channel for children, organized many different projects for children and teenagers. And he shared with me this kind of crazy dream to organize this adventure therapy project for children from Donbas, from this gray zone or area very close to the front line. to help them also to realize their dreams, for those children who dream to travel, to see the world. And I found it so important. I also felt that at that time, our government didn't care so much, or like not enough, about this young generation living in Donbas. And I thought that it's amazing idea, and I joined him, and that's how we started this documentary. So after we traveled to Donbas, we met many, many children in different villages and small towns. And after I started to film much more the life of teenagers, and I even at some moment I was less concentrated on this adventure, like a dream project to go to Himalayas. I also found so many connections with children there and with my own childhood, because I grew up also in Eastern Ukraine after the collapse of Soviet Union, and very great time. My parents were extremely poor, and I remember how we children, we were creating this kind of bright shield against this grayness and this sadness. And how much we were dreaming, and actually those dreams helped us to survive and also to develop ourselves. And that's what I saw in Donbas, and I also wanted to show this life of these teenagers, how despite this grayness, if you have this light inside you, you can reach your dreams. So actually this project organized by Valentin, as Ukrainian adventurer, became very symbolic point. So actually, those teenagers are already trying to realize their dreams, even in those circumstances. And Himalayas became, yeah, something much more metaphorical. And talking about the danger, because I already went through kind of extreme experience in Donbas. I was on the front line and I was in captivity. So for me, it was not something like I really felt. I felt dangerous because it was part of reality. I knew already, and I was much more like afraid of my characters, even through their, like it was their reality, they were living there. But when there were some shellings, I was like, I worried so much about them. And when I was not there, um, yeah, and for me it was also important to not just to come there like for a few days, like to film. I was really sometimes I was coming for like 2 weeks, and I was just living with them. And yeah, and yeah, it's for me as a documentary director, it's very important to feel part of the reality you film, to be inside it, and to feel it also a little bit at the same time, the same way as your characters, to feel it.
Thank you. Yes, in my or in our case, the story was a little bit different because I'm actually from Germany. So the question is, how do I get the idea to film in Gaza? And the story was that actually, like probably everywhere in the world, especially the Gaza Strip, since I can remember, from the Gaza Strip, there were always the same news pictures. Like there's always this, since I can remember, there's this conflict. And every 2, 3, 4 months in the news, there will be the more or less same pictures. So this was my picture, or what I could remember from the Gaza Strip. And when I was about 30 during my studies, I met someone who was actually born in Gaza, born and raised, and he studied also in Stuttgart here at the Media University. And he told me a lot of his childhood, and these stories were so different from what I knew from the media regarding how happy he was. I mean, it was chaotic. It was a complicated region, but between the wars there was a normal life, and they had the beach. They did barbecue on the beach and stuff like this. And I was like, wow, I'm 30 now, and I've never heard these stories. And this was actually the background when I started reading more about the Gaza Strip. And one day I found an article in a sports Red Bull sports magazine, by the way, about surfers who from the Gaza Strip, and immediately I found it interesting. I asked Hossam, his name was Hossam, or is Hossam, and he said, "Oh, I never heard about them." And we tried to find out a little bit more, and thought there must be definitely there's already a film done about them, but this wasn't the case. And yeah, so the initial idea was to show something, show the life between the wars, so the normal life that that happens when the cameras are off, more or less. So this was the basic idea. And the problem was that I don't speak Arabic, so I had to find someone who helps me realizing the project. And I found a guy who has a German mother, Arabian father, and born in Germany but raised in Cairo. So he could speak the language. He knew the region, the cultural experience, and he's a producer who studied in Berlin. We met, and immediately he liked the idea because he grew up in the region. Egypt is right next to Gaza, and we developed the project together. And regarding the danger, we developed the project for about 4 or 5 years, and he always said, we will do the film, definitely, but we will do it as safe as possible. So we won't use any tunnels. At that time, there were a lot of tunnels that that you could use, try to use, getting from Egypt to the Gaza Strip. And we said, no, we want to film there, and we do it officially. So we have all the papers done. We don't go when there's the conflict is too hot. So let's go if the conflict is how do you say, not an open war. And yes, so, and to be honest, after we went in, I felt quite safe. So it was actually right after a conflict. And yeah, the only problem that I had after a week or so was that you couldn't leave the Gaza Strip because the border is open just 1 or 2 days a week. So if something happens on a Monday, let's say, you have to wait 3-4 days to go to the border, and that's not 100% sure that you get out. So this was something that I was like, wow, I'm in the region and I can't just leave. So, but yeah, you get used to it.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm also very curious to hear about what the process was like for the people that participated in the movie locally. Like how do you think that it impacted them to be part of the movie?
They or Philip?
Yeah, you can.
I think
we do ping pong.
Okay, then like yeah. So with teenagers, it's like it was a process. No, with some it was like a sparkling. I don't know. Yeah, immediately. With some it was a longer period of time, but because I already said a little bit that I wanted to be kind of part of their life, and I wanted also to kill adults inside myself, like that. I cannot judge. I cannot be adult. I will be teenager just like them. I will go where they want. I will never say, oh no, don't go there, it's dangerous, or don't do this. So we did lots of crazy things. Even lots of these crazy things are not in the film. Like Andriy, the motorbike boy, he was driving his motorbike without driving lessons, and I was without helmet, and we were once stopped by police. But yeah, yeah, but with Andriy, it was like we became really close friends, and I became friends with all his friends from like all villages. Actually, after 2 years, everybody in these different villages, they knew me, and they didn't consider me as a alien. Like they just, okay, this girl, she's always here, like so she's with her camera. But even sometimes it was important for me not to film everything, but just to be there, to be and to live this routine life with them. Or sometimes I went to party. I had my camera in my backpack, and I was like just start to talk with people, to drink with them, like and even one time it was funny because one teenager started to flirt with me, and I realized that it's like, oh my God, I like one life elder than him, like, or even almost 1.5. So, but I felt that, okay, then this method is working, that it's so important to be inside this reality. So, yeah, with locals, it's always about time, and it's because time also gives trust, because when you go through so many different things together with your characters, you are there where they have their first love, first breaking heart, first motorbike broken, I don't know, and all these things, and this emotional experience you go through together, it connects you, so you have this like feeling of closeness, and I think for them it was important in a way. I think for in some way, um, documentary process of like documentary filmmaking, it can be therapy for characters. Also, we were reflecting a lot about the future, about their lives, the reality. Like we had lots of discussions, and they also could see them sometimes little bit from a distance, and also somebody who can bring another perspective for them. And also this Himalayas project, it was kind of miracle for them, and it was also something that they believed much more in themselves, uh, because they felt themselves also special, and that we reach this like 4,000 meters, and you have after this feeling that you could do this. Of course, it's just a mountain, but maybe after this mountain you can do the same thing with something like with your other dreams. So it was like really therapeutical thing, and both, and filming and being together with them, and also this Himalayas project, realizing their dream. So I think it worked like very like beautifully, I mean, in together, like yeah, just with Lisa, it was also like funny with one girl that she was very rebellious teenager, and it was some period of time it was not easy, but she was protesting against everybody and also her parents. And after when when we finished the film and we were in Berlin, we had this very nice premiere in Berlinale, and Lisa said, like, answer some question at Q&A. She said, I don't know how Alisa managed to survive me like during that time. So yeah, but for me it was not so difficult. Yeah, you just realize they're teenagers and they need to rebel.
You were ready for anything, it seems. You were prepared. Yeah. Philip?
Yeah, I can 100% agree. In our case, the situation was just a little bit different because it was it was so hard to get in. So the preparation of the film took us about 3-4 years from the first idea till the final shooting or filming. We actually agreed to don't say shooting, but filming. And over these 2, 3, 4 years of preparation, of course, we were in contact with a lot of people from the region via Skype or telephone or whatever, and we tried to keep connected. But of course, with the distance, it's there's not really a friendship that is coming to life. But anyway, we kept contact, and about a year before the actual filming, we went for a research trip for a week. And I mean, we had figured out like about 10 people who were interested in being part of the film, who seems interested, and we just said, let's meet. We come in a half a year and just meet, and we met all of them. And yeah, and it's very funny to see the difference if you talk to a foreigner via Skype or the computer, and if you meet them in reality. So it's sometimes it's totally different, especially with our main protagonists, Ibrahim. He was in all the calls and also in the research trip. He was extremely calm. He was handsome and nice and helpful, but he almost didn't speak. And we said, okay, a protagonist who doesn't speak for a documentary is maybe not the first choice. So maybe let's film a little bit with him, but let's concentrate on others. And as we came back, like almost a year later, we had not a complete, but a slightly different concept. And we started filming, and then he was there, and he was talkative. He was like, hey, and he was like, he changed completely. I don't know why. Maybe he also needed some time to trust us, maybe, I don't know. And during the filming, it was like, okay, he will be probably the protagonist because he's so yeah, he was perfect. And others who we were actually thought that they might be more in the front line quietly disappeared or didn't had, I don't, the connection wasn't there. And yeah, and of course we also tried to spend as much time as possible. We were aware that it was so complicated to get in that we said, okay, we had a little bit of budget, and we said, okay, let's spend almost all the budget that we have to film there. And it turned out that we could afford about 5 to 6 weeks on the ground, and that was the plan. So we went in, except this 1 week research trip a year before, and then we spent almost 6 weeks living there. Not with them, we had a separate apartment, but we met them almost every day. And yeah, and then yeah, there was this little, actually the plan was to film pretty much, Alicia, like your film. Actually the plan was just to film inside Gaza and show just the everyday life inside this closed community. And even after we left Gaza, about a half year later, the possibility with this travel that he did, it came later. It wasn't clear before, so because nobody thought this is not possible. And then we tried to get some extra budget, and then we followed him, and then we changed the concept of the film that this journey will be included in the film. But the actual plan was to stay inside, but that's documentary. Sometimes life changes or is moving in a different direction than the concept. And it was for the story, it was, or for the film, I think it was.
Oh, it came, I didn't realize that it hadn't been planned from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, he had this dream like years before. He had this dream, but not all the people who were in the concept of the film was thought that this would probably never happen. So yeah. So the budget was already spent, so we had to find another budget.
Yeah, it came as a surprise to me when I was watching it. It was an interesting twist. Okay, we're gonna
Even
open.
for us, yeah.
Yeah, even for you, yeah, in both life and the movie editing. Okay, we're gonna open it up now for questions, and I'll chime in perhaps later as well, depending on how many questions we have. Let's see. Does anybody want to ask anything or make a comment?
While we were waiting, maybe I can answer a question that Alisa or Alisa asked me before the actual call, regarding Ibrahim.
Razan raised her hand.
Okay.
Let's give her some time to speak. And
I'm happy to wait for Philip to answer Alisa, and then I'll jump in.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the film, if you have seen it, there is this text saying that he didn't went back to Gaza, and this is the fact till today. So on his way back from Hawaii, he visited an old friend from Gaza in Houston, Texas. Actually, what I've learned now, there's in Houston, there's quite a big Palestinian community, and they kind of convinced him to stay in the States, because they said, if you go back now, you will probably never go out again. And also a little interesting fact is, I mean, I learned this later on because this also all happened. This all happened after the film. Hello.
I think maybe someone wasn't muted for a second. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so he's still living in Houston, Texas, and tries to support his family as best as possible.
Do you want follow-up question? Do you think the movie helped him get out? Like the question that I asked before, how did the movie kind of impact the people featured as characters? Did the fact that he was part of the movie and it was all going to be filmed affect that he was allowed out? You see what I mean? Or would have been
I know what I mean. So actually, we didn't really help to get him papers or something. So he was, as he also is telling in the film, he tried since a couple of years to get out, first via Egypt, and spend a lot of money, and it didn't work out. The only person who helped him, but already years before, was this Matthew from the States, this guy who was also in the film. And I don't think that he mentioned that he is now be filmed, or the Israeli office that gave him this opportunity. I don't know if they were aware that he's part of a documentary film. I don't think so. So I guess it doesn't had anything to do with us. Maybe the only thing was that while we were filming, that he put a little more effort in getting his papers ready. So.
Okay, Razan.
Hi. Well, first of all, I would like to celebrate, congratulate, and offer my heartfelt thanks to Alisa and Philip for two immensely heartfelt films that were inspiring and thought-provoking, and in a very visceral way, very human. And that's what I appreciated most. In a setting ravaged by war, you both chose to approached the film from a different angle. And instead of concentrating on war scenes, you basically elevated hope, elevated dreams, elevated thoughts of freedom. And that, coupled with the filming of the seascapes in the case of Gaza and the mountainscapes in the case of the Himalayas, and of course, your film, Alisa, I felt that that juxtapositioning wove a very rich tapestry of dream and expectation and open horizons where nature stood in as a symbol for that. And that I felt was extraordinarily powerful. And again, in both your works, that sense of what we in anthropology would call participant observer was just very powerful indeed. Just to get into the gestalt of that young community and be part of it and go with the flow and go with the dreams and go with the fantasies, that kind of gave both documentaries a sense of immediacy and freshness that is often lost in war zones and war films. So I applaud both of you for that. It was extraordinarily wonderful. And Philip, the musical score in your film was very powerful, very powerful. So thank you for that. Alisa, I wanted to ask you who ended up filming the Himalaya scenes. Did you climb up with the gang or what happened there?
Thank you for your so heartwarm feedback. Yeah, it's me. It's
Oh,
me.
you did?
I did. Yeah, but it was absolutely crazy with this Himalayas trip because it was during COVID time. It was postponed 2 times, and at some moment it was a miracle for all of us. Like we really didn't believe that we will manage, that we will go, and we arrived in Nepal, and this Delta new this COVID virus started, and airport was closed. So we really managed to fly the day before. Everything was again like closed, and we went to this Annapurna base camp because we went to Pun Hill. Actually, we went to the one mountain. It was very intense trek, and we went to this Annapurna based camp, and there was nobody there. And it's like absolutely unique actually because of this coronavirus. There are no tourists. There are only some people we met on the trek who arrived in Nepal like a few months ago, like somehow. And it was beautiful because when we went to see also sunrise, and like there were no people, we were alone, and we could really see all this beauty without any people. But it was hardcore for me, like really it was very very hard because you are like not only it's walking, it's hard. I mean, and it's like every day 8-9 hours, so you have to wake up very early, 5 o'clock in the morning, and you also have a camera. And I don't know, I during 3 days I didn't feel like my hands, my legs, it was horrible. And I had also my friend cinematographer with me. For him it was even more complicated. After 3 days he said that he couldn't walk anymore. But in the morning he said, no, I will do this, I cannot leave you alone. So yeah, we did it. So for us it was also, we like we reached something important, so we all did it. And it was
How long did the trek take from the base station to Annapurna station?
like 8 days.
8 days.
Yeah, but we had this long trek. We went to jungles, and like so we went up and went down jungles, and it was this yeah, also beautiful part in the jungles. And yeah, so it was experience for all of us.
Hey, that's wonderful.
Respect.
That's really. And it's really lovely because, again, the juxtaposition of the serenity of nature and the openness and the awe-inspiring, majestic sense of being one with nature in your film, Alisa. And in yours, Philip, just that sense of grandeur and openness of the sea, where there are no bounds to your sense of freedom and flow. So I felt that was very, very beautifully done in both films.
And I think it both works visually quite good, because actually in the beginning of the concept, we also had the idea to also portray some guys who do like skateboarding or parkour or like other youth sporty things, and we also met them. But as soon as we went to the research step, it was clear that this surfing inside this closed region is visually so much. It works much better than someone who's doing skateboarding, and it has its own speciality, but we decided all together, so let's concentrate on the water stories.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Michelle, you have a question? Yeah, we can't hear you. I think you might be muted. Maybe check your phone settings.
I read her lips and she said, I'm on the phone, but then I didn't get the rest after that.
Do you want to talk?
Oh, I think she's muted, but she does have a question, right?
Well,
she can type it in the chat.
Yeah, we can text her. And
do you want to try texting, Michelle? Or because there's something wrong with the audio and we can't hear you.
I'll try and just send her a message.
Okay. Who will send?
But just in closing, I also really appreciated you weaving in the infinitesimal details of quotidian life into your film. So that also created many strands, both cultural, personal, and also generational, that I thought was very interesting. So they talk about all kinds of things, these kids. And again, the surfers in Gaza. It's not just about dreams, it's also about visions and expectations and how they envision the world. So it's interesting. I really appreciated those details as well in terms of the editing. I'm gonna text Michelle.
Does anybody?
She texted something.
Oh, she did.
Oh, she did. Just to say thank you and to say how important it is to focus on seeing what peace in life looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love the films, she said. Thank you for doing the festivalette. Thank you for watching the films and joining us. Does anybody else want to add a comment or ask a question?
While we were waiting, because you were talking about the music, I just can tell some more details about the music score, because it was for us, it was a big question. I mean, music is always a big question in a documentary film. If you use any music or just recorded music or extra music, and in this case, the question was: do we use like a Western score, Western music, or like local music? And we had big discussion regarding what kind of music we will choose, and we always said it has to be authentic, like it's authentic Arabic music, but that it also works for Western ears, because sometimes it's this original music from the region is quite, if you're not so used to it, it can be hard to hear. So we found this great composer from Egypt, who's an Egyptian composer, and he knows all these musicians, and he used the authentic or instruments and put it in a, I think he found quite a nice mix between authentic Arabic Eastern music with some Western melodies or
sensitivity.
Sounds, sensitivity, yeah.
Yeah. It was great, really great.
Okay.
In fact, we've worked on a symposium for the upcoming conference on Palestine. And I might just use some of the poetry from one of the songs for that. I was very touched.
Oh, lovely, Razan. Are there any other interventions right now from the group?
I have one question to Alisa regarding the music, because in your film that you used two types of music. There was this kind of scory music, which was more like in the background, and then you used, I think, 4 or 5 times like songs. And I mean, they are, at least in my world, not familiar. I wasn't familiar with the songs. What about the songs? How did you choose them?
Oh, thank you. Rare question, but actually, life of teenagers is full of music. It's like everywhere. And we had lots of scenes with music or like discotheques or like music was everywhere. But of course, after we had a lot of problems with rights.
Yeah.
And we had also some problems with rights from like one Belarusian musician who was very popular in Donbas at the time. And he's very kind of a political musician who's still living under the regime of Lukashenko. So he was afraid that his music will be used in more like pro-Ukrainian and pro-Ukrainian like film. So we had to even cover of some of his music because it was inside the scene with like a Polish composer wrote like some music. So we realized that we cannot use a lot of music which we wanted, like and we started to think what we should do. That maybe we should create music as a voice. So music became not just music, but it's kind of a voice of emotions of like young people, because even in my teenage years I was listening music all the time, and I was like, when I was reflecting about life, about love, about everything what happened in my life, music helped me to somehow to also to understand my emotions or to go through my emotions. So we wanted to create this another like layer, like music layer, which can also like show emotions and changes in emotions. And we work with a lyricist, like, so it was a Polish composer, very talented young Polish composer, because we had a Polish co-production. So we had to do music in Poland. And so we worked with Wojtek, Polish composer. We like actually we were sitting together and we were writing music together. For example, we were talking, okay, here, what is here? It's hope, or like what emotions? And we were like trying to write music according to these emotions in this period of time for our characters. And after we also sent the film to lyricist, and she wrote text. So that's how we created all this like musical dramaturgy, I would say, as a also voice of youth. Um, and yeah, and we decided at some moment that maybe if it will be in English, it can be so universal, so other teenagers can feel, understand it. And also in Donbas, they listen a lot of music in English. For example, Billie Eilish, girls were listening a lot Billie Eilish, but we thought that we couldn't buy Billie Eilish for sure. It would be half of the budget. But funny thing, we used the Radiohead at the end of the film because it was it. But one time I was actually, it was by accident, because we were like in the bus and I was filming my characters and it was a beautiful light, and I was listening Radiohead, because in this bus it was a horrible Donbas criminal, like chanson music, like, so I had to put another music to film. And I realized that this song is actually it's about the film, and it's about youth, and it's about dreaming. And so from the very early stage, we really wanted to have Radiohead in the film, because the text is like, it's so poetic and it's so fitting to this, like this some existential layer of the film. And we saw that maybe it won't work because it will be too expensive. But actually, they were super nice to us, super democratic. They asked for budget, and they didn't ask for so much money. Actually, the Indian music, which like is in Nepal, and it's part of the scene, so it was like real music from the scene, cost more than Radiohead. Actually, they put this Nepalese guide. They put very famous singer, like pop Indian, the super famous star, and they ask for so much money for a small piece of this, like, because it was part of the scene. Yeah, but Radiohead, I was like, yeah, we were surprised that they were so nice to us.
We have a question from Vanessa as well in the chat. She's saying, I was struck by the contrast in how youth is portrayed in the two films. And she perceived that in We Will Not Fade Away, young people seem to be stepping into the adult roles. And in Gaza Surf Club, Mohammed seems to be holding on to his youth. And she wonders if this reveals different ways of living and being, whether stepping into adulthood or holding on to youth be understood as forms of resistance or activism. Yeah, it's an interesting comment that the films are so layered. I don't know if you'd like to respond to that.
Alicia,
I mean, I would just say, I'll just add to it and say that I feel like in both situations, we see that all the characters or the protagonists in these films are trying their best to make decisions within, their control, and they're trying to be flexible and, work within the parameters that they're facing every single day. And so I wonder if these, them surfing or going out with friends or drinking or whatever it is, like if those are almost forms of resistance, and well, I still have control over this, and what those small everyday decisions or tasks or anything, how that can be viewed or seen as a form of resistance or activism, and you can say no too. I just, I also approach it from an active, like I just got out of a 2-year program where I'm looking at youth activism, and what we perceive activism to be might not necessarily be, a formal protest, or it can manifest in many different forms. So I just wondered if that sort of played a role at all or not in either of your films.
In our case, I must say, especially the young people that we've met, I wouldn't say that they do it like an political protest. It's more like they do. I mean, there's not so many things to do in the region or in the area. Of course, you cannot travel. so it's a very limited life, and some people find the water interesting, others go dancing or whatever. So, and it's more like it's less political than we also thought while preparing the film. And there's actually one funny story. When we went to Hawaii, there was this idea, because in Hawaii there's also this this movement of the Hawaiian Inuit original people who are building a strong community against the America in general. So we thought, because while we were there was a kind of demonstration stuff, and we said maybe we bring Ihapri, maybe he can connect with them. And he was like, he totally couldn't connect with this thoughts, because he said, and afterwards we talked about so why he's not so political in this way. And he said, we as a Palestinians, we are so, since I'm living, I'm the loser, and I'm not interested in another loser community. I want to look to more like the hero figures in life. So they like football, they like all the big heroes that we in the West are kind of fed up. So these are the people they look up. This was something that we had to learn, actually. Or they like wrestling, for example. They like all these wrestlers, and not so much these Che Guevaras from somewhere in the world. So this was something that we had to learn, because in the beginning we had the same ideas that you. So they are interested in this political activist stories, but yeah, but this was our experience.
Yeah, so I would say that on more philosophical level, I think all what they try to do, it was a kind of resistance against this reality, against grayness, against boredness, against lack of opportunity. It was something like it's like, no, but I will do it different, or like I will I will illuminate this kind of like darkness with like what I will do. And with some it was stronger, and it even went to like also political resistance, like with Andriy, well, like small scene, but with this Ukrainian flag he put. And after actually the scene had a continuation, because his grandmother was so afraid that he put, because they were living very, very, very close to the front line. Like it was almost front line, because some positions of soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers, were like very close. So, and like Russian soldiers were like also close. It was like very small distance between like occupied territory and controlled by Ukraine territory. And the grandmother of Andriy, she was so afraid that he put this Ukrainian flag on his garage, so she went during the night to and took it because she thought that Russians will shoot his garage. Like so, but for Andriy it was important that he's like saying it was his act. Yeah. And for Lisa also we had even more scenes which are not in the film. For Ilya, boy who wanted to become an actor, like he was very political. Even like I wanted to put more like scenes with him and with his political activism. He was really like, he was one of the strongest, I think, from all the team of characters. He was incredibly pro-Ukrainian, and he was doing a lot of these activism things. But after it brought us too much into politics, and we decided, so we cut lots of scenes with it, because we also wanted somehow to show this this tenderness and this pure like light, because politics brings something more heavy, and we wanted to show them more this existential freedom, this like feeling of existential freedom. And it's also was interesting because it was not also like freedom, like it was not only negative freedom, it was unique that it was both freedom, like negative and positive freedom, not freedom from but also freedom for. And they knew what they wanted, and they were like talking a lot about their dreams, and they, yeah, so we didn't want to spoil, like with the politics, going too much in politics, this like pureness of this illumination, like I don't know, illuminating things of youth. And yeah, I hope I answer.
You did. Thanks so much to both of you.
And I also made the experience that by the decision to cutting the obvious politics out of the film. I mean, it's there all the time, but it's not. We are not putting it in the first row. It opens the film to a much bigger audience. So, for example, I've got also emails and messages from people from Israel who said, I'm living like 5 kilometers from this border, but I've never knew how life is behind the wall. And I think because it's so apolitical in the first phase, it widens the audience to watch it. And if it, because there are a lot of films that concentrate on the conflict, and it's quite often that then some kind of audience are off. They said, okay, they kind of close. They shut down the, how do you say it? The shutter. so over the last years, it was quite interesting that this opens the audience in a. They are more willing to open themselves to the human feelings and ideas and thoughts.
And also one thing for me, of course, like in the context of Donbas, and it was before full-scale invasion, I was thinking a lot how I can bring this like politic topics, because it was there, it was really there, and there are a lot of also very, very like complicated things, and I even didn't know how to explain it, especially to foreign audience. In Ukraine, like everybody would understand. But it was very, very specific also dialogues and talks and discussions. So we had to really, at some moment, we had to cut scenes, which for me, it was super important that also teenagers talking about politics and like doubting, discussing. And that it was like, for me, it was very important, but I realized that it will be so like local and so like, so it can even disappoint people. So like, yes, that's why we decided to be more concentrate on some more existential things, like to go beyond this bit.
I think the power in both films lies in the fact that instead of overtly exploring the terrain of the war, you chose to focus on human emotion and on possibilities beyond the war. And that is what made both films both very lyrical and in terms of their narrativity, very, very powerful. And maybe, Vanessa, in relation to your question, I think that sense of activism and resistance maybe was symbolized by power over their own dreams and power over their own bodies, because both sets of youth do bodily physical activities, surfing, mountain climbing, and since they cannot control the wider world of wretchedness these days, they can at least exercise that sense of control over their own bodies, their thoughts, their dreams, their expectations, and how they construct a new world for themselves. And so that was very powerfully stated.
Yes, and I think also what you just mentioned and some of the other points that have been made have great repercussions for the educational field that we don't have time to enter into now because it's 1 p.m. But I do think that the movies are wonderful for this particular audience of educators. I think the reflection about this will continue on. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I'm sorry we don't have more time. I think we could have continued speaking, but we do want to be respectful of the time that we had set aside for this. Thank you again, Philip, so much for joining us, and Alisa as well. Our heart goes out to you, Alisa. We know you're in Kiev. We know how hard the situation is there right now, and we really hope that it resolves as soon as possible. I mean, and we just we're with you in spirit and heart, and thank you so
Absolutely.
much to both of you for your courageousness and for these beautiful, inspiring movies that have connected us with these people in these incredibly difficult contexts and given us so many ideas for the future. So Dave, clap, okay. I thought there was
And a round of applause for Adriana for putting together this wonderful